In this lecture, we are going to study about baton system. For example, there is a built-up member. Uh, the connection should be established between this built-up member. There are two procedures. So in our previous lecture, we have studied about lacing system, and this is our second procedure. Here we are going to study about baton systems. So the built-up column is totally battened by providing the plates. There are end battens and intermediate battens. Now, a column consisting of two longitudinal members are rigidly connected by battens in case of batten system, which can be shown in the diagram. The failures in batten systems are same as we have discussed earlier. There are some provisions where we need to provide the minimum, we should satisfy minimum code provisions. So we will study about what are the basic requirements for a designer to consider while designing a baton systems. So let us assume there are two channels which are placed back to back as shown in a figure. So the distance between the two battens is represented by C, which is the spacing, center to center distance. Now let us see what are the important codal provisions what a designer should remember while he is going to design a baton system. So first of all, the compression member composed of two main components batten should preferably have individual member of same cross section and symmetry disposed about their major axis. Whereas practical, the compression member should have radius of gyration about the axis perpendicular to the plane of batten, not less than the radius of gyration axis parallel to the plane of batten. So first of all, when we go to draw a major axis, we can say along a major axis there is all symmetry city. So this is what we need to take care. Most of the cases batten systems are only for axial loads. When there are only axial loads, then only we will design for batten systems. Batten systems are it may be a plate or a flat or another built up section, sorry, maybe a plate or a flat or another rolled section like angles, channels, or even sometimes I sections are also used. So battens are connected parallel. Battens are connected parallel along the length, and as far as possible, these battens are equally spaced. Now when we see along the along our IS codal provision, from the clause 7.7.1.1, it says that the radius of axis along perpendicular direction must be equal to radius of axis along the parallel to the plane of batten. Either the plane axis would be z axis or x axis. It means that ry must at least be equal to or greater than rz. The channels are placed at such a distance such that it will increase the radius of gyration of member. When we select a single channel section instead of selecting a total built-up section, and we see here radius of gyration along x direction is far greater than radius of gyration along y direction. So in these cases, what we will do when we are using two channel section, we will increase its distance. Whenever we increase the distance, the radius of gyration increases. We will increase the distance such a way that the radius of gyration about the axis perpendicular to the plane must be greater than the radius of gyration about the axis parallel to the plane. So this is the one thing what we need to remember while we go to design a batten system. Next, the batten shall be placed opposite to each other at end of the member at point where the member is straight along its length. As far as practical, be placed and proportionally uniform throughout. The number of batten in such a way, in such that the member is divided not less than 3 base within its actual length from center to center or of end connection. So these battens where we are placing should be placed at equal distance throughout its length, and more possibly there should be at least 3 battens. In a design, we need to provide at least 3 battens. There should be at least 3 battens. According to the clause 7.7.1.4, the effective slenderness ratio of batten shall be taken as 1.1 times of actual slenderness ratio. It means here the slenderness ratio of column is increased by 10%. For 100%, it is increased by 10%. Total 110%, which gives us 1.1. The effective slenderness ratio of batten columns shall be increased by 10% to its actual slenderness ratio. Now this was about a few things what the code has suggested us, and remaining things we will discuss here which are used for us to design. So what are the different types of failures in batten systems? I can see a batten system will fail in overall buckling, may fail in overall buckling. A batten system may fail in buckling due to individual member, like what we discussed in our previous case in main member. It may buckle due to distortion. Most of the cases the load is only axial, so we need not need to worry much about distortion, much about change of shape. More the failure of batten. So we need to see that this all things while we design a batten should cover all the failure criteria. So overall buckling, the maximum slenderness ratio must be less than 180. For a buckling in individual member, this happens because of batten placed at a farther distance. So what we need to do, we need to follow our codal provision, and we need to see that the battens are placed not much far. If we place the batten too closely, it will automatically increase the cost of construction and our sections will become uneconomical. And when we talk about failure of batten, we need to provide certain criteria as what the code has suggested. Now, when before discussing about the types of failure, let us see what are the design provisions we need to provide while we design for a batten systems. So from the clause 7.7.2.1, it says that the batten should be designed to carry a bending moments and shear arising from transverse shear force. So there is some transverse shear force which is acting on our structure, which is due to this one, what we need to do, we need to design our section for bending moment and shear forces. And this transverse shear force is given as V equal to 2.5% of total axial load, 2.5% of total axial load P. 2.5% in the sense 2.5 divided by 100 into total axial load P. So one more thing, batten members carrying the load along the bending moment due to eccentricity of axial loading calculated in moments or lateral loads parallel to the plane of batten shall be designed to carry an actual shear in addition to above shear. So whenever there is some eccentricity, what we need to do, we need to consider two shears. And there is one more important thing what we need to remember, the batten shall be of plates, angles, channels or I sections at the end shall be riveted, bolted or welded to main component to resist simultaneously a shear of V, this is transverse shear, let us take this as VT. VTC by NS, where VT is transverse shear force, C is distance between center of, it means the spacing of batten, and N is number of parallel planes, whereas S is minimum transverse distance between centroid of bolt or reverse or welding group. So this distance could be our S distance. Now so we need to design our batten to resist a shear of Vc by Ns and a moment of Vt by Vt into C by 2. So apart from the design, shear and moment, what we need to say, what should be the actual size of a batten plates, how much size we can provide for a batten plates. From the clause 7.7.2.3, the thickness of batten or a tie plate shall not be less than 1/50th time of distance between innermost rivets or bolts. So this distance, this distance. If we mark with A, let us take this as A. 1 by 50 times of innermost a connecting lines distance between innermost connecting lines of reverse bolts or weld perpendicular to the main member. If we consider this value as A, the minimum thickness should be A by 50. Okay. In the same time, either it may be for end batten or intermediate batten. At the both times, the thickness should be greater than A by 50. For both, the thickness should be greater than A by 50. Okay. So let us see about effective depth. How can we select an effective depth? So to select an effective depth for external, for the end battens, at those points where the member is laid along its length shall have effective depth longitudinally not less than the perpendicular distance between the centroids of main member. So if I calculate the centroids of main member, this is the centroid. Let us assume this is the centroid here. Let us assume there is some spacing in between this. Let us assume this total distance as A, or we already selected as A. Let us select some other distance as X or anything, or select this as AI, innermost distance, and select this as A. Then minimum depth of batten must be greater than A for end battens. For end battens, the minimum depth should be greater than A. And for intermediate battens, effective depth should not be less than 3 quarters, 3 by 4 times of A. In the sense, 0.7 times of A. The effective depth. This is the effective depth, the distance between innermost bolts or rivets. D. Effective depth must be greater than 0.75 times of A. A is center to center distance between the two plates, and A dash is AI. AI is this distance, a distance between two innermost bolts or rivets, innermost bolts. So this is about the size of batten. So this to overcome the failure in batten, definitely we need to follow this criteria. And for overall buckling, the slenderness ratio should be greater than 180. Now let us see about spacing. When we talk about spacing in a batten columns compression member, where the individual member are not specifically checked for shear and bending moments, the spacing of battens center to center shall not, be such that the slenderness ratio of any component over the distance neither be greater than 50 nor 0.7 times of slenderness ratio of a member as whole. Okay, so C by R minimum must not be greater than 50 or this time. So we need to identify this to study to overcome the failure with the buckling in individual member or buckling in main member, to overcome this type of failure. Here we are doing it with respect to spacing. So with this data, again we can see about end connections also. We can study about end connections too, especially about when there is a welder joint. It has given that the lap should be at least greater than 4 times of thickness, or the total length of weld at the edge of batten must be greater than D by 2. The length of weld at each edge of batten must be less than 1 by third of total length of weld required. And the return weld along the transverse axis must be less than 4 times of the thickness of batten. So this is the provision what they have given in end connection in the clause 7.7.4. With the same principles what we have seen in our lecture, let us design our problem on batten column. A batten column which is having a 10 meters length and carrying an axial load of 1150 kilonewtons. The column is restrained in position but not in direction. It is free in direction and it has been restrained in position at both the ends. Uh, the type of support could be hinge support. Designer built up column using channels channel section placed back to back. So this is what they want, the desired shape for built up sections. Now let us see how we can design this uh, batten column. So given that the axial load is about 1150 kilo newtons, the length of column is 10 meters. Let us find effective length, which is equal to K into L, where K is the constant. So the given condition is where the translation is restrained, whereas rotation is free at both the ends. So in this case, we can see the translation is restrained, whereas the rotation is free on both the sides. So here the value of K is 1. So from here, this will become 1 into L, which is about 10 meters. Now what we need some area, we need something such that we can select some desirable channel section. We know that stress equal to load by area. From this one we can calculate load equal to stress into area. We already know that axial load equal to compressive stress into effective area A. In this case, we know the axial load, which is about 1150 kilonewtons. Now, what we need to do, we need to assume some value of FCD based upon the considerations in columns. So, let us assume this value of FCD as 125 megapascals. Assume FCD equal to 125 megapascal. So from this relation, effective area or area required, minimum area required if the compressive stress is 125 and the axial load is 1150 is by 125, which is about 90 to 100 mm square. The area required is for two channels. This is the specification what they gave. Built up a column using channel placed back to back. Here we are using two channels. This area required is for two channels. For single channel, area required is 90 to 100 divided by 2, which is around 4600 mm square. What I am going to do on a safer side, because the values what we have selected is just based upon assumption, I will increase this value by 10%. In the sense 4600 by 460, which gives us around 5000. We will select some area from IS 800 2000, which is in between 5040, which is nearer to 5040. So from SP 651, let us try to IS MC 350 413 Newton per mm sections. For this one, the relevant properties of the sections are area, which is about 5366, radius of gyration around the z-axis. This area and this z-axis are only for single angle. When we consider only a single angle, the specifications are only for single angle. So see here, when we are considering a single angle in our solution, it has been shown that, let us assume this is our one axis and this is other axis. This axis is around ZZ and this axis is around YY. So the radius of gyration along ZZ was 136.6, whereas radius of gyration along YY is 28.3. So it can be noted that RZZ is far greater than RYY. So what happens when we are going to use a built-up section, we are increasing the distance of axis. This is why these sections are placed at something far distance to increase their radius of gyration. If actual axis, which is represented with the orange color, the distance from this axis is increased such a way that RZZ must be at least less than or equal to RYY when we consider both the channels. Now, it is also seen that the thickness of flange is around 13.5 mm. Moment of inertia along z axis and moment of inertia along y axis, the power of y axis, and centroid along y axis, and the width of flange, which is about 100 mm. So this is the data for IS MC 350. Now let us see whether this section is capable of resisting the loads or not. Let us see that. So to check it, what we will do initially, calculate the slenderness ratio and see whether the slenderness ratio what we have got is less than 180 or not. Then we will calculate the load carrying capacity. If it is safe, we will continue our design by designing a batten system. So before that, let us see what is the effective slenderness ratio. Actual slenderness ratio lambda equal to KL by R minimum. Here we are using a built-up section and we will design such a way that RZZ should become R minimum, not RYY. RYY is only for a single channel, but when we are using these two channels as a built-up member, we will increase the distance such a way that RZZ will be less than RYY. So in this case, while we are using built-up member, RYY will be RZZ will be our minimum radius of gyration. So this value will be around K is 0.1, L is 10 cube divided by 136.6. We also know that if you are using a batten column from the clause, already we have discussed here, 7.7.1.4, the effective slenderness ratio of batten column shall be taken as 1.1 times of actual slenderness ratio. In the case, we are increasing the slenderness ratio by 10%. So, effective slenderness ratio is given as 1.1 times of 1 into 10 cube by 136.6, which will be around 80.53. This is less than 180, hence it is safe in overall buckling. This section is safe in overall buckling. Let us see the load carrying capacity of this section. So to calculate the load carrying capacity of this section, we can calculate it from the table number 9. But when we see table number 9, there are 4 tables A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D just represent the buckling class, and from the table number 10, we can identify what is the buckling class of a cross section. So the given section is a built-up member. At any axis, the buckling class is C. That is why we are going to refer table number 9C. When I open table number 9C, see here, the slenderness ratio was around 80.53, which is in between 80 and 90, and the yield stress of a member is 250. The value may be in between 136 and 121 with the help of linear interpolation. So what I am going to do here to calculate FCD, I am going to do a process of linear interpolation. My value is between 136 minus 136 minus 121, value we need is for 80.53 minus 80 by 90 minus 80. This gives us around 135.2 Newton per mm square. Now let us find load carrying capacity of column. P equal to FCD into AE. FCD is around 135.2. AE 2 into area of single channel is 5366. There are two channels, 2 into 5366, which will be around 1451 kilo newtons, which is greater than 1150 kilonewtons. Hence, the channel can support the external load acting on our member. Hence, it is safe. Okay. Now, when the channel is safe, the biggest thing what we need to see here, whether the spacing, how much spacing I need to provide between the two channels, how much spacing I need to provide. For that purpose, we will see our relation. We provided such a way that RZZ should be minimum. RZZ should be minimum. Therefore, RZZ must be less than or equal to RYY. And we also know that radius of gyration is directly proportional to moment of inertia. So, from this relation, what we are going to do, we are going to determine the moment of inertia of two sections. Now, let us say this is my angle around YY, and this is my angle around YY for single channel. Now what I am going to do, this total two composite sections, I am going to design this both the section as a single member. When I join these two sections, my x-axis will not change, whereas the y-axis will shift somewhere at the center of section. So let us assume the distance between these two sections as, yes, spacing between these two sections as, yes, this will be our centroidal distance CY. This is our centroid distance CY. Now let us calculate moment of inertia. As we can see, the moment of inertia along z direction does not change. There are two channels, that's why directly I can take 2 into moment of inertia along z direction, which is across 1008 into 10 to the power of 4 must be equal to 2 into, there are two channel sections. What happened here, original the axis was this one, later our axis has shifted to this position. So here we are having two different axes. In this case we will apply parallel axis theorem. To apply parallel axis theorem, we know that IYY equal to I dash YY plus A into Y bar square. Y bar is the distance between both the axes. This distance is Y bar. From here to here, this distance is spacing by 2, and from here to here it is centroid. See, YY. So the total distance Y bar will be S by 2 plus CYY. So moment of inertia from here 2 into I dash YY, which is across 430.6 into 10 to the power of 4 plus area, which is 5366. Already we consider 2 as whole into Y bar spacing by 2 plus centroid 24.4 mm whole square. So if we evaluate this, we will get the spacing between the two columns as 218.4 mm. So at least if the spacing is 218.4 mm, then only RZZ will be equal to or yy. So let us assume spacing between channels as 220 mm. Now let us design, this is our section. Now it is safe. We what we are going to do, we are going to give a spacing between the two channels of about 220 mm. Whatever the patterns we are going to provide, how the pattern we are going to provide, we are going to design now a pattern system. So the first step in designing a baton system will start from spacing of battens. So already we have seen in our code from the clause 7.7.3, it has stated that in a batten compression member where individual members are specified check for shear and bending moments, the spacing of a battens such that the slenderness ratio of components shall neither be greater than 50 nor be greater than 0.7 times of slenderness ratio. So the from the provisions, see there are two conditions here. The spacing C, which is center to center distance between the battens, must be less than or equal to 50, or this C must be less than or equal to 0.7 times of slenderness ratio. C is the slenderness ratio of spacing, so not C, spacing, which is equal to C by R minimum. C by R minimum. So when we consider a single channel, if we are going to consider a single channel, there are two axes in a single channel. This is RZZ and RYY. This type of spacing we are checking only to check our member does not buckle in main member. There should not be any buckling in main member. To overcome the failure buckling in main member, we are going to study this type of failure system. So main member, when I select a main member, one axis is having a radius of variation RZZ, which is about 136.6 mm, and around YY it was only about 28.3 mm. So YY is a lot weaker than XS section. So for that purpose, if I select only a single channel, if the load is acting upon this channel, will it be sustained to take this loads or not? For that purpose, will the member will buckle in main member or not? To check that, we need to see the condition C by R minimum must neither be greater than 50 nor be greater than 0.7 times of slenderness ratio, maximum slenderness ratio. So R minimum here will be RYY, as we are seeing only a main member. We are seeing only a main member. That's why C divided by 28.3 must be less than 50. At the same time, C divided by 28.3 must be less than 0.7 times of slenderness ratio, which was around 80.53. So if we evaluated this, if value 0.7 times 80.53 into 28.3, if we evaluate this value will be across 1595.3 mm, and on the second hand C must be less than 50 times of 28.3. So this value will be around 1414. So the C must be less than 14 and 1595. Therefore assume the spacing between the uh, two baton system as 1400 mm. Now let us calculate the size of baton. When we are calculating the size of baton, there are two batons. One is end baton and another or intermediate batons. So let us first calculate end battens. From the clause 7.7.2.3, it has given that the effective depth must be not less than the perpendicular distance between the centroids of main member. So this is our main member, and it consists of axis. This is our CYY. This is our distance CYY here, and CYY here. So effective depth is nothing but the distance between two bolts will be our effective depth. So it has given clearly that the effective depth must not to be less than uh, spacing the center to center distance between two made members. So that is why the effective depth will be equal to S plus 2CYY, and it is also be taken care that the effective depth of the section must not to be greater than 2 times of D. So let us calculate effective depth D. Spacing we provided was around 220 mm plus 2 into 24.4 mm, which is around 268.8 mm, and it also be seen that this value must be greater than 2 times of width of flange, whereas the width of flange was around 100 mm. 2 times of 100, which is equal to 200 mm, hence 268.8 is greater than 200 mm. Now let us calculate overall depth of end batten. To calculate overall depth of end batten, just add it end distance on both the sides of member. So let us calculate end distance, as these are the rolled section 1.5 times of diameter of bolt hole. Let us assume the diameter of bolt as 20 mm plus 2 is the clearance, which will be around 33 mm. Now the overall depth will be equal to 268.8 plus 2 into 33, which will be around 334.8 mm. So let us assume this value as 340 mm. And it also been mentioned that overall length of batten. What should be the overall length of batten? So this is the flange which is across 100 mm, and this is the flange of channel section which is across 100 mm. This is the spacing between the channel section, which is 220 mm. Then this total will be our length of batten system, which is given as S plus 2B. So to calculate length of batten system, S is 220 plus 2 into 100, which is across 420 mm. To calculate the thickness of batten system, it is given that the thickness of batten of typelet shall be not less than 1 by 50th time the distance between innermost connecting of rivets, bolts or welds. To determine the thickness of end batten is nothing but the distance 1 by 50th times the distance between the inner bolts or rivets. Let us assume the distance here where we are going to place the bolt is at a distance of gauge length G. So we did not need to, we are not sure, or we providing the two series of bolts or single series of bolts. Let us assume some distance G, gauge length G as 50 mm. So this distance will be our distance A, the distance between innermost bolts, which is equal to which is equal to S spacing plus 2 into G. So the thickness of a member must not be less than 1 by 50th time of S plus 2G. S is nothing but 220 plus 2 into 50. So this value will be across 6.4 mm. So the thickness must, let us assume the thickness as 8 mm. So let us assume the end batten plate size as 340 mm length, 420 mm wide and 8 mm thick. In the same way, let us calculate intermediate batten. Again, to calculate intermediate batten, we know that the effective depth is 3 quarters of the center to center distance. So let us calculate effective depth for intermediate battens small d, which is equal to 0.75 times of uh, 260. Already we did this, which is across 268.8 mm. This will be across 201.6 mm. Then overall depth will become, and this value is also greater than 2 times of b, which is 200 mm. 201.6 is greater than 200 mm. Therefore, overall depth of a member, let us find this, which is equal to effective depth plus 2 times of end distance. This value will come across 201.6 plus 2 times of 33, where 33 is end distance, which we calculated earlier. S plus 2 cy we calculated here, S plus 2 cy, the value directly I took it from there itself. This one will be 260, 270, 267.6 mm. So let us assume this value as 300 mm to be safer size. The length will not be changed here. The length of batten system, which is equal to this total length, 100 mm here, 100 mm here, flange, width of flange of battens, width of flange of channel section, which is 100 mm at this side as well as 100 mm this side, 100 plus 100, 200 plus 220, which is across 420 mm, and thickness of batten also will not change as this distance will not change. Wedge length will remain same, which is 50, which is 50. Therefore, the thickness of batten can also be 8 mm. So for intermediate battens, the size can be selected as 420 by 300 by 800, 8 mm at the rate 1400 mm center to center. The spacing was across 1400 mm center to center. So the sections what we have designed end patterns and intermediate patterns, those are all based upon an assumptions which we have selected from the clause 7.7.2.3. So now if we see the mode of failures, we have already seen that the overall buckling will occurs when the total built up member slenderness ratio exceeds 180 mm. So we have already overcome this type of failure. Next, we have also seen that the failure in main member by providing the spacing. Spacing, our minimum radius of gyration must be less than 50 or 0.7 times. Now, what we need to see whether the batten system, whatever we have provided, is capable of resisting the loads or not. Is the batten system safe in the design with respect to design or not? So this is our intermediate batten and this is our end battens. For a intermediate battens and end battens, the length was 420. Effective depth was overall depth was 340 and thickness was 8 mm. This is for end batten. And for intermediate batten, the overall length was 420, width was 300 and thickness was 8 mm. Both are spaced at a provided with a spacing of 1400 mm center to center. Now let us see what is the load carrying capacity. What is the load transfer zone in our batten? So in the step 3 we will calculate the transverse shear. So to calculate the transfer shear, the formula is 2.5% of axial load, which is 2.5 divided by 100 into axial load, which is 1150 kilonewtons. If I convert the kilonewtons into newtons 10 to the power of 3, this value will be across 28750 newtons, or we can write 28.75 kilonewtons. And we also seen that the longitudinal shear across the column axis is given as L equal to VC by NS. This is across 28.75 into C is 1400 mm spacing by N is nothing but number of parallel planes of battens. So there are two parallel planes. Therefore, N value will become 2, and S is nothing but minimum transverse distance between the centroid of weld group, which is across 320 mm. Already we have calculated while we are calculating the thickness of batten system. The centroid bit, the value of A, the centroid bit, the distance between the two innermost bolts or rivets. So this value will be across 62.891 kilonewtons. At the same time, let us calculate what is the moment on the batten. To calculate moment, there is a formula given in our code, which is equal to Vc by 2n, whereas V is 28.75, C is spacing 1400 mm by 2 into number of parallel planes are again 2. This will be across 10.06 into 10 to the power of 6 Newton mm. Now my batten, whatever the batten I am going to design here, my batten, if I selected my batten, uh, I if I am going to design my batten, I am going to check my batten of overall length of this batten was 420 mm. The effective depth here it was 300 mm and here it was 340 mm. These two battens should carry a shear, should transfer a shear and moment of 62.89 kilonewton shear and 10.06 kilonewton meter of moment. So let us see how my batten will transfer. So first let us check with respect to end batten. In check, first let us check with end battens. Now let us calculate. There are two types of loads here. One is direct shear. So for that purpose, let us calculate shear stress, which is nothing but load by area. The shear load, which is about 62.891 by area, shear area. The width of the depth of this section is 340, and if we see here the 3D image of our batten, depth will be 340, thickness will be 8 mm, 340 by 8. This gives us around 23.12 megapascals. This value should be less than permissible shear stress. So what is the permissible shear stress? Permissible stress is nothing but Fy by root 3 into gamma m naught, 250 by root 3 into 1.1. So permissible stress is across 131.22 megapascals. Permissible shear stress is across 131.22 megapascals. But the shear stress in the material in the end batten is only up to 23.12 megapascal, since it is safe. Similarly, there is a bending moment. Let us calculate bending stress. Now, how to calculate bending stress? So, from the theory of bending, F by Y equal to M by I. F is our bending stress, where M into Y by I is the formula to calculate the bending stress F. So, I by Y, in this case, Y will be equal to T by 2 D by 2. This is the face of this is just a rectangle, and d cube t by 12 will be my moment of inertia. This one's a 6, one's a 2. So finally, the bending stress is given as 6m by t d square. Now let us calculate the bending stress. 6 into moment. Moment was across 10.06 into 10 to the power of 6. Here I can convert the values from newtons to mm, divided by thickness, which is 8, into depth square, which is across 340 square. So the bending stress here will be across 65.27 newton per mm square. Now let us see what is the permissible stress, bending stress here. This is in case of shear, and this is in case of bending. Fy by gamma m naught. Direct stress 250 by 1.1, which is across 227.27 megapascal. Hence, end battens are safe. Now let us check with the same formula for intermediate battens. Same, let us calculate shear stress, which is equal to the direct load 62.89 into 10 cube divided by the depth here is 300 mm, 300 into 8. This value will be across 26.2 newton per mm square, which is under the permissible stress. What we have already calculated, 131.2 newton per mm square. Hence it is safe under shear stress. Now let us check this under bending stress, which is equal to the same formula what we derived here, 6 into m, 10.06 into 10 to the power of 6 divided by 8 into depth is 300 square. This value will be across 83.83 newton per mm square, whereas the permissible stress what we already calculated was around 227.27 megapascals or newton per mm square. Hence intermediate battens are also safe. Once the end batten and intermediate battens are safe, let us design the end connections and end to the problem. Thank you.